So I spoke about the Nate Diaz Khamzat Chimaev fight the other day, and it's kind of a weird one just in terms of the way the UFC are matching people up recently. I see that there's heavy talk around Dustin Poirier and Michael Chandler. They're two of my favorite guys. I probably like Chandler a little bit more, but putting the two of them together, yeah, I think it'll be an explosive fight. But in the same breath, you know, it's two of your favorite fighters, and it's like, and same thing with Khamzat and Nate. I did the video the other day. We had a little conversation about what I thought was going to happen, what might happen. But this is an interesting story here, and I do believe we've caught Khamzat out telling a little bit of a white lie. We'll get into it in 2 seconds, but if you could hit subscribe first, that would be amazing. If you could drop a comment, that would be great. If you jump into the comment section in my videos, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting, to say the least. I'll try to respond to everyone the best I can. We'll go from there. Jump in and let's have the conversation. So yeah, people are talking about it's super disrespectful for the UFC to be feeding Nate Diaz to Khamzat Chimaev for his last fight of his contract. And even if we jump over here, Nate deserves better. Former opponent Edwards rooting for Diaz. I read the article. It's pretty good. I think Leon Edwards really puts himself together well in this article. But yeah, even he's calling out the UFC for what he believes is mistreatment of Diaz being fed to the wolves, as they continuously say. But I want to talk about what Khamzat has said back here, and I've highlighted it because he was on the Ariel Helwani show and he was talking about the upcoming fight with Nate. I think it really is telling in terms of the mentality of Khamzat Chimaev. He's an absolute beast. I don't think he wants to be reined in with a game plan. If we look at the best fighters in the world, the Kamaru Usmans, the Alexander Volkanovskis, these boys can execute a game plan to the T. That's why they look unbeatable. That's why they look unbeatable. And I mean, Kamaru Usman is the ultimate king at this. Like the game plan of fighting off that jab. I remember watching him in the early days and thinking, okay, he's a bit scatty. He's a bit all over the place. He's got some serious wrestling. He started putting it together behind the jab. He started putting together unbelievable striking, all based off of a jab. And what happened is a culmination of an unbelievable fighting style that right now is unbeatable. If you want to stand with Kamaru Usman, you're going to get jabbed out of it. He's going to stay on the outside and jab you up. If you want to wrestle, he can wrestle. But the skill set from an absolute beast like him and Volkanovski is that they have all them tactics all in place, but they've also conquered the idea of a 5-round fight, the championship fight. They're able to put all the package together. That's why they look so unbelievable. I would love to see Khamzat get to that position where he can start putting together an unbelievable game plan that would make him a champion. I'd love to see it because I really do like him. But I think that his emotions get the best of him in these fights, like we saw in the Gilbert Burns fight. And what I'm pointing out here is in the interview with Ariel, he said, I don't have some game plan and that shit. I don't ask my coaches. I never talk about what I'm going to do in the fight. I think that's a lie. And if we look here, I've highlighted this bit here. I feel sorry for my coaches, he said, post-fight in the locker room. He said that they worked hard with me and I made many mistakes. I'll go back and I'll watch the fight again as I always do and I'll work harder, more energy. And he was kind of pissed off because he couldn't finish him. But his corner men and his coaches were screaming, don't brawl, stick to the plan. That's what the coaches were screaming at him, and it was really good advice. And I think that if he can compose himself and get himself to a position where he can take that advice on board and not leave the emotions overwhelm him, he wants to go out there and the sound of the crowd, he wants to smash people. He wants to finish them, he wants highlight reel. And dude, it's unbelievable to watch. It's something to behold, and I love watching it. And I don't want to see him fall down in terms of not executing or implementing the coach's plan, because I think if he puts that package together, we're looking at someone who's unbeatable across the board, and it's truly exciting. I know this is hype talk. I know this is the interview. I know he's pushing the fight and he's saying, I don't want to listen to any of my coaches. We don't do any of that stuff. It's a little bit of a white lie. It is what it is. He's promoting the fight and he's doing what he does best. So we'll see how this plays out going forward, especially in this Nate Diaz fight. When the announcement was made that this was actually penned and it was in the works to actually happen, I was kind of thinking, first of all, wow, these are two massive fighters. I love the two of them. This will be very entertaining to watch. But seeing how the narrative has unfolded in the course of the last week or so, I am starting to lean towards the UFC maybe pulling a bit of a sneaky move on Nate. And I've seen Dana came out in an interview last night and he said, listen, Nate wanted Ngannou. Nate wanted Kamaru Usman. Nate wanted Khamzat. We gave him what he wanted. He's a great kid. We don't have any ill will towards him. And I'm not sure if that's the case, because we know that Nate is a little bit finicky, a little bit pedantic when it comes to the UFC and his treatment, and rightly so. He's the talent, he's the fighter, and he wants to get paid. So maybe this is just the UFC's way of reciprocating that sort of treatment in a very covert, incognito way. We'll see how it plays out. I think anything can happen in fights. I think that anything can happen. I will be watching this fight. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think that Khamzat is going to be a future champion. Let me know if you think Nate beats him in his final explosive exit fight from the UFC. What a story that would be. Regardless, we're in for some fucking fight, and that's been honest. Let me know your thoughts down below. Hit subscribe if you can. Really appreciate it. Cheers.